What's up? It is Z Sports Live on a Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend. And Deandre Hopkins spent his weekend, at least last night, in Nashville, Tennessee, visiting the Titans officially for his free agency tour around the NFL, looking for his next team after the Arizona Cardinals cut DeAndre Hopkins late in May. And so reacting to what we saw from D-Hop there on Instagram, from him being in Nashville, the overall idea of what DeAndre Hopkins could look like with the Titans offense, and a lot of other topics to discuss there. Then an NFL reporter has given a couple nuggets out there for DeAndre Hopkins and a couple interesting things. I mean, I think there's one positive and one negative that came out of a report over the weekend about what DeAndre Hopkins is wanting for his next team, and also something about DeAndre Hopkins that we'll find out if that makes sense and if that's a fit with Mike Vrabel and the Titans here in Nashville. Zach, welcome back after a quick trip at the back half of last week. But we're going to have a big-time show talking DeAndre Hopkins, who you have not had a chance to discuss ever since it was reported that DeAndre Hopkins was going to visit the Titans, and he did it on Sunday, and it's plus a Monday, which means ask me anything for a topic there to wrap up the show. So, Zach, welcome in. Let's get this thing rolling.
That 1% chance is looking a lot better now.
Nothing's concrete, right? Nothing's done.
Well, it is. I think it's down to a couple of teams that we'll discuss this week. I think we'll find out how the visit went very shortly, probably, as decisions will be made. But a lot to get to and a lot to talk about this week is the Titans, knowing that they've got a wide receiver issue, trying to improve their wide receiver room. We are broadcasting live on 3 different platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We got you covered there. We'll tweet out segment by segment, link by link on our Twitter handle at A to Z Sports. Follow us there. We have breaking news. We've got great articles. We got live streaming shows. It's a great follow at A to Z Sports. And we've got segments, and you can catch it every single morning right there on our Twitter. You can catch the live show on our YouTube. Subscribe if you have not already subscribed. It's a great subscription. If you've already subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead and hit that like button on this video. It helps the algorithm. More people will get involved. Maybe there's DeAndre Hopkins fans elsewhere trying to figure out where he's going to go that can watch the show, get their opinions as we interact with our chat and our community. And Facebook, what's going on? Facebookers, bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. Sharing is caring, and caring is sharing, as we say on this show. More people are going to pile in over the next 5 to 10 minutes on this Monday morning. And as you do, share the show, subscribe to our YouTube channel, retweet, do all the things that you need to do on socials, and we will have a fantastic show. Let's get this party started on a Monday morning.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He's Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us all on social media, as we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to segments, segment by segment, on our Twitter timeline at A to Z Sports, and also hit us up on Instagram and TikTok for more great Titans content. Gotta thank our sponsors, because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you. Wilson County Hyundai, for your next ride, make them a part of your car buying process by seeing them in Lebanon or WilsonCountyHyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans for coverage, rates, and service at fbhp.com/ATOZ. The Aura app, keeping you safe online from any robocallers or spammers, and get a 2-week free trial by using our link, aura.com/ATOZ. And Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer, serving Middle Tennessee for over 18 years, with 3 locations in Murfreesboro, Franklin, and Columbia. KrebsKubota.com. So, Zach, DeAndre Hopkins reported last week by Tom Pelissero, the NFL Network, that he was going to visit the Tennessee Titans as his first visit during this free agency after the Cardinals cut him in late May. And Pelissero said Sunday. Well, Pelissero was right, because this was Sunday evening when DeAndre Hopkins put this up on his Instagram story, pinned Nashville, Tennessee. You see the welcome to Nashville, DeAndre Hopkins wearing a jersey number 10 in two-tone blue, with a very fancy ride driving through downtown Nashville with some Chris Stapleton on the background there. So, Zach, you hadn't had a chance to talk about this ever since the visit news came out from Pelissero last week. But what do you think? You already kind of hinted in the cold open that 1% chance that you had of D-Hop signing in Nashville, probably a little higher at this point.
Yeah, probably a little bit higher. And I think, all the good teams have dropped off. I'm not saying that the Titans aren't a good team. I think that's what we're going to find out this season. I don't know if we know if the Patriots are a good team. I think that's what we're going to find out this season. But teams like, Chiefs, Bills, those type of upper echelon teams have, I think, gotten out of the mix because of money. And it's funny because also when this happens, I've got a good relationship with a radio station in Kansas City. They call and I go visit their radio show when they want to talk Titans. And one of the questions was asked is why Nashville, right? Right. Besides the connection of Mike Vrabel and Tim Kelly, essentially, why Nashville? And we kind of got to talking on the radio show, and DeAndre Hopkins, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he never really said, he's like, I want to go to a Super Bowl contending team. Oh. That was never really said. DeAndre Hopkins really wanted to go to a stable organization because the Arizona Cardinals are not that, right? So he got out of that situation. And I do think, and here's a big factor, he wants to get paid, just like most really talented wide receivers. And the industry is ripe to make a lot of money at that position. The Titans are in desperate need of a wide receiver. The New England Patriots are in desperate need of a wide receiver. And that's why he's visiting those two organizations. And if he enjoys it, if he likes it, then now the Titans really have a shot to improve their wide receiving core. And now you're pinning Ryan Tannehill up against Mac Jones. And that's actually probably a competition that I would take Ryan Tannehill over Mac Jones. That may be another topic that we talk about later this week. I also think it's funny that when Mike Vrabel, the coach speak from Mike Vrabel is laughable at times. And last week when he's like, I'm not recruiting, if we want guys that want to be on this team, well, then I don't think you put a welcome to Nashville jersey swap to DeAndre Hopkins in probably $100,000 van that you're driving around at. No, that's the right thing to do. The Titans did the right thing. But, the coach speak from last week of, well, if we want him to be there. No, you want DeAndre Hopkins. You need DeAndre Hopkins, and you better sell DeAndre Hopkins to improve this roster to contend in a very contentious AFC. This thing is going to be wild when it comes fall in the American Football Conference with all of the quarterback play and all of the competition. DeAndre Hopkins would help the Tennessee Titans tremendously. And I think we all, you, myself, and the entire chat, anybody watching later on down the day of this show, knows that the Titans are a very different football team, and we view their franchise in a very different way heading into this last contract season of Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill with DeAndre Hopkins.
So a lot of things there. One, Devin says, I don't think Vrabel can use a computer, so he doesn't think it was Vrabel that put together the jersey swap.
Devin, you got me right there.
Yeah, like funny. Mike Vrabel's whole comment about I've done my fair share of recruiting and I'm not going to do any more recruiting. But again, what else? What is it? I mean, Mike Vrabel took Ndamukong Suh out like 3 marches in a row in downtown Nashville. And so now Mike Vrabel's saying that he's not recruiting anymore. Like, what is a free agent visit if it's not recruiting? That's all it is. I mean, if you want to use a different label instead of the word recruiting, then fine. But we all know what's happening when free agents visit teams in the NFL, because that doesn't happen all that much, especially with the wave of free agency happening, over phone calls at 2:00 in the morning, whenever, the legal tampering window. But
well, yeah, I want to say this real quick. It's like going on a date. Both have agreed to go on the date. The Titans have hosted DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins has agreed to go on the date. You don't sit there and be like, well, if she loves me, she better love me. You want to go into this saying that this is going to work out, right? You want to do all of the things. You want to look nice. You want to look like trash. You don't want to take her to McDonald's. You actually want to take to a nice restaurant. Like, they are doing all the things, and Mike Vrabel's obviously downplaying it. But I do believe once DeAndre Hopkins got in that building, there were bro hugs and, hey, come on through the door. What can we get you? Let's talk. Like, so it's all smoke and mirrors outside, but behind the St. Thomas Sports wall, they are whining and dining DeAndre Hopkins.
Well,
I got a feel.
The main question is the Titans hosted, but who made the first call, right? And that's what we'll probably not know is who reached out to who first to set up the visit here in Nashville with the interest there. So, Zach, you also said that you think the Bills and the Chiefs have already maybe pulled out. Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't necessarily think that I am all about that. I just think that
I think the price tag made them change their mind.
Has it been reported? Has it been said that those two teams don't have any interest, or is it just
they have lost interest compared to where they were? Because the Chiefs and the Bills were interested, and this is reports, they were interested in the draft, during the draft for a trade. So there was interest, but the price tag, and then DeAndre Hopkins got cut, right? So he got released before June 1st.
Which lowered the price tag.
Which lowered the price tag, but they did not get back into this. I think it personally is down to two teams with the Patriots and the Titans, and I think those upper echelon teams, I think that the agent of DeAndre Hopkins has a number, which he should have a number. That's why they're talking. And the Titans or the Patriots are those suitors that number has not scared them away.
Yeah, I don't believe that the Titans and Patriots are the only two teams in this. I just think they're the only two teams.
I think those are the top two, though.
Yeah, I just think logistically, those are the two teams that have already gotten their schedules in order. They might be the two more desperate teams, I guess, if you want to say, of who need DeAndre Hopkins the most. But you did bring up the number, right? So every agent has the number that they want for their client to get. So, Zach, I will disclose a contract projection by an NFL reporter for DeAndre Hopkins that I found pretty interesting. So we'll get to that contract projection here in a second. But first, let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org. They are the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care whenever things go wrong in life and an injury occurs that you can't plan for. It's always an inconvenience, but you need to make sure that the Bone and Joint Institute can get you back to health and get you back going because, don't let that injury linger. Go to the Bone and Joint Institute in Franklin. They have the specialists, they have the technology, and they have the easy website to book an appointment, boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports, we are powered by BetMGM. Download the BetMGM app today. I was out of state. I was in the Lone Star State of Texas, so I could not participate because they don't allow gambling. But they do. Yeah, it's stupid. And I probably lost some money, or I maybe won. I came out even, right? Because I didn't place a bet because I couldn't. But now that I'm back in Tennessee, you can get back. I'm back on the wagon right now. I'm ready to bet on this finals game tonight. You can bet. New users use that bonus code ATOZ Sports. They're the king of the sports book.
All right, A to Z Sports here live on this Monday morning, reacting to the DeAndre Hopkins visit as he was in Nashville. This was posted probably around like 7 o'clock last night. I don't know if DeAndre Hopkins was hitting up day 4 of CMA Fest or not with him being in Nashville, but he was in Nashville visiting the Titans there. That was from his Instagram post. And so, Zach, there was a contract projection that I saw put out from ESPN.com's Mike Rice on Sunday that I found pretty interesting because Mike Rice has covered the New England Patriots for quite a long time as their ESPN NFL Nation reporter. And Mike Rice had this to say. He said, a 1-year, $10 million contract that would be worth up to $12 to $13 million might be a more reasonable target for Hopkins and a team like the Patriots. But if joining a contender is of greater importance to him than the contract, a la Randy Moss in 2007, that would change the dynamic and give top-tier teams with less financial flexibility a chance to get in the mix, like the Buffalo Bills, Zach, that you had talked about. So this is Mike Rice, who we'll talk about more that Mike Rice had to say about DeAndre Hopkins as the Patriots prepare for this visit later this week. But 1 year, $10 million worth up to 12 to 13 for teams, like the Patriots. I think the Titans in this context are more like the Patriots than they are the Bills and the Chiefs, obviously. But what do you think about 1 year, 10 million base with a little incentive money to add on to it?
I personally think it's higher. I think it's more money than that. But
yeah.
I think for DeAndre Hopkins, does he want a 1 year prove it deal, or does he want a 2-year contract and some stability? The Titans aren't going to give him a 4-year contract. The Patriots aren't going to give him a 4-year contract.
Nobody at this time is going to do that.
It's not that type of relationship. So I do think it's between 1 to 2 years. I think 2 years could get DeAndre Hopkins to sign if that's what he wants. But I also think you got to look at Odell Beckham Jr.'s contract. And look, there's a lot of incentive. And I think at this rate, that's usually where teams are going to lean into, is an incentive-based contract. Is if you go out and earn your money, we'll pay you the money, right? And DeAndre Hopkins is going to get some big-time targets. I think he'd get better targets for the Titans than he would for the Patriots. I think the offense is better. The Titans offense, I think they have better offensive players with DeAndre Hopkins, right? I mean, I got to add DeAndre Hopkins into the mix because of maybe the emergence of Treylon Burks and Chig. They've got Kendrick Bourne over there. They've still got pieces for New England. And, New England is a very reputable franchise. New England is very similar to the Titans here in the last several years. They don't tank at a 3-win team. They don't do that usually. The Titans had a fall from grace after their 7-3 start and lost 7 straight, but they were still in the mix in the last week of the season. The Patriots are always in that mix, and it sounds like, based on what DeAndre Hopkins has said over the last several weeks, is he wants to be at a stable franchise. Both of those fit that bill for the contract. It's how much does he want to get out of it? How much is he willing to earn? And, here's the other thing. I'd rather be in the AFC South than the AFC East. Like, if you want to win, why do you'd rather go to 2 rookie quarterbacks and an unproven, let's just face it, Trevor Lawrence, than you've got in the East. You've got an emergent. Yeah, I mean, look, the Dolphins are no slouch. I think they're on the cusp, like they have been, but haven't gotten over the hill. You've got Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen, and then now you're on the 14.
Yeah, I mean, the New England Patriots are staring last place in the face for the first time since like the 90s, and then you have the Tennessee Titans that I think with DeAndre Hopkins are a lot more closer to even money with the Jags than what the Patriots would be. Like, I don't think that anything changes when it comes to the betting odds, the AFC East, if DeAndre Hopkins signs with the Patriots. At least the Patriots are probably still projected to be 4th place.
And it's still going to come down to contract and years. Like experience, visit, rapport, all of that thing matters. Sure. I also think that DeAndre Hopkins coming in there and giving Mike Vrabel a bro hug, I don't think he's going to give Bill Belichick a bro hug. I don't know that. No.
Bill O'Brien, right? Remember, Bill O'Brien's the offensive coordinator in New England, who they did not get along very well.
There's this is the male soap opera. That's what we do every single day. And there are storyline. This is the male version of Vanderpump Rules. It's what is Bill O'Brien going to say or do when he sees DeAndre Hopkins?
Yeah, are they going to be able to make up? Right? They haven't talked in several years. Bill's been in Tuscaloosa and DeAndre's been in Arizona. They haven't really seen each other in a bit. But so, Ken says that he wants 15 as in DeAndre Hopkins. And so let's go.
I would agree with that.
So again, Mike Reese of ESPN that covers the Patriots said a 1 year, $10 million contract with up to 12 or 13 might be more reasonable for a team like the Patriots and Titans, but a contender, if it's important to Hopkins, could be able to lower that. And then I see Devin in here. Devin said, F that. He's already getting $22 million from the Cardinals. No, I mean, DeAndre Hopkins did not get money from the Cardinals this year because the Cardinals cut him. That's a cap. That's a salary cap allocation.
That was the problem.
but he's not getting $22 million from the Cardinals. The Cardinals cut him, and the only money that DeAndre Hopkins got for the Cardinals was the signing bonus money that he got and the games that he's played. So no more money from the Arizona Cardinals since his last game check this past year.
He's not getting $22 million in a single year. That prevented the Cardinals from trading him. It prevented the Cardinals from doing a ton of things because of that contract. So they had to release him. And now, once he's on the open market, the benefit is that DeAndre Hopkins has the decision to pick his team. But at the same time, he's not going to get the money that was in his previous contract with the Cardinals. It's going to be closer to 12 to 15 million. That I probably think it's maybe somewhere in between. And then the years, maybe it's a 2-year deal. Maybe that's what he's jockeying for, to give him some stability. And, you know, I do think that the Titans have a better direction than the Patriots. They've got essentially, as I've always said it, a first-round quarterback in the waiting of Will Levis, and they've got a proven winning quarterback in Ryan Tannehill. Now, not playoff winning Ryan Tannehill to the Super Bowl winning Ryan Tannehill. We're not talking about that, but they've got Derrick Henry. They've got a first-round wide receiver opposite of DeAndre Hopkins if you were to go in Treylon Burks, and a quarterback that can throw. That's a veteran. Mac Jones is not a veteran.
No, and he's not. I don't even know the confidence level in Mac Jones moving forward. So, Zach, when talking about the contract projection from Mike Rice, I had one question mark that I had about what that looks like, and I'll get to that here in a second. But first, tell me about Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Yeah, FBHP.com is where to go to get your next health plan. I got my next health plan a couple of years ago when I visited Farm Bureau Health Plans of Tennessee. We were talking about being in a partnership with them, had no idea what the deal was going to be. I went in there blind, to be honest. I was like, are you sure? I mean, what if the deal is not as good? Well, the deal was as good because I went through the same health assessment, got the same quote. They did exactly what they will do with you. And I realized, man, this is a much better plan. It's 20% less. It's better service. It is so much better. So I switched, and I've reaped the benefits of Farm Bureau Health Plans of Tennessee ever since. I highly recommend them. That's why I endorse them. It is a true endorsement because they have helped me in my lifestyle. For you and your family, if you've got a wife, and kids, if you got Philip Rivers' number of kids, it does not matter. They have a plan for you, and they'll get a quote. That's 200 plus locations across the state of Tennessee. That's FBHP.com/ATOZ.
All right, with BetMGM, got a big game 5 tonight right here. Could be a closeout there in Denver, but you can win big with our bonus code ATOZ Sports with BetMGM. That's a first bet offer that you can't refuse because you go big on that first bet, and if your first bet misses, you can get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets with our code ATOZ Sports when you sign up. So check that out today with BetMGM, bonus code ATOZ Sports. So, Zach, I'll show it one more time. Mike Reese of ESPN.com, who covers the Patriots, a 1-year, $10 million contract that would be worth up to 12 to 13 with incentives. And multiple times we've referenced the Odell Beckham Jr. contract of 15 mil up to 18 with the Ravens. In my opinion, that's kind of like the Christian Kirk of this year. Slightly different, but kind of the same meaning. Is that why did the Ravens give Odell Beckham Jr. $15 million on a 1-year deal? And why? And them doing that probably hurts whoever's going to end up signing DeAndre Hopkins to an extent.
What happened after Odell Beckham Jr. signed? Because that Odell Beckham Jr. signed and then Lamar signed, correct?
Yes. Now that was the reason, right? So like the Ravens kind of had to, but it did not. The point is the Jags needed something, and they had to go get somebody and convince them to come to Jacksonville to play for the worst team in
football. That was a long-term contract in the open market.
Yes, but still, the point is that they paid Christian Kirk, ironically from Arizona, a lot of money. And everybody's like, what are you doing? And it messed with the wide receiver market. I think the Ravens paid Odell Beckham Jr. A number that made people say, what are you doing? And how does it impact the DeAndre Hopkins mark? So Kane comes in with a super chat that is around my biggest question mark around this contract projection from Mike Rice. He says, Kane does absolutely silly to spend all that money on a 1-year deal, especially when the Titans are not in position to go get a ring, trade draft pick for younger players, what Kane's saying. Now, the part that I with Kane on is the 1-year deal. What does that look like? And do the Titans try to void year this thing to make it easier? Because the Titans have $7.9 million in available cap space. That includes everybody in the draft class. Will Levis isn't officially signed yet, but 7.9 is allocated for whatever that slot looks like. Tier Tart signed his tender. So 7.9 in available cap space obviously is less than a $10 million deal on a 1 year. So how do they set that up? And does it get them in a spot where John Robinson eventually got in trouble because he kept kicking the can? And Rand Carthon is starting fresh, and next year's cap space is pretty wide the heck open. But if you're already going to say, hey, let's just kick the DeAndre Hopkins can down the road a couple years, Rand Carthon is already starting his first offseason and first year with the Titans, doing something that the previous guy ended up getting in trouble with.
So I'm glad we're to this, because I think those are valid points, right? Because we don't know Rand's tendencies yet. We knew Robinson's. Here's where I disagree with Kane, and I think it's not necessarily me disagreeing. It's the Titans disagreeing with Kane. He says the Titans are not in position to win a ring. I believe, Kane, that the Titans believe with DeAndre Hopkins, they can be in position to win a ring. This is the last hurrah, at least the perceived last hurrah, with Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill as your quarterback, your running back, and your backfield, right? Like, that's what the Titans are trying to do, is give them all of the pieces and the tools and the parts to go win a ring. Because how do you win a ring? Well, you win your division and you host a playoff game, right? So don't we all believe that the Titans' odds, as you said, I believe drastically change if DeAndre Hopkins is on the roster? The likeliness of them winning the division, I think, goes up. Honestly, and I don't think you bet right now on BetMGM for the Titans. Now, the plus money is good. We just don't know if DeAndre is going to sign with the
plus
Titans.
350 right? Is what I looked at last time I saw.
So it'd kind of be without DeAndre Hopkins, I don't know if the Titans are going to win that division. I don't know. I think with DeAndre Hopkins, those odds change. So if you get in the tournament, anything can happen, right? Especially now with a premier wide receiver, an emerging wide receiver 1. This would actually be wide receiver 2 in Treylon Burks, and Chigakonkwo, and Derrick Henry. So that's something I think that you can go to battle with and go to war with, that the Titans believe that they can go win it. And that's important.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this on the show. I don't know if you were on it that day, Zach, that when DeAndre Hopkins got cut by the Cardinals, I almost put money on Titans plus 350, thinking it was going to jump. Now, when I was at Titans minicamp and the news came out that DeAndre Hopkins was going to visit, all of a sudden the odds on DeAndre Hopkins' next team, the Titans went from off the board after he was cut to 2-1 odds. So the Titans went from not even listed by some offshore books that do some projections like that to 2-1 odds. And that had Titans media being like, "Whoa, that's a big deal." But that's a sports book conversation more than anything.
This is, man, do I want to say this? Screw it. It's Monday. I'm saying it. This is what I believe that the Titans should do. Okay. The Titans should go all in on DeAndre Hopkins on a 1-year deal. No more. They should probably overpay for DeAndre Hopkins because of the situation they're in. And Austin, you brought up the point, is next year you kind of reset. If you're ready to move off of Ryan Tannehill, a boatload of money is going to come back onto the books. The salary cap is going to increase. You can go draft another young wide receiver or get a longer term deal with a better wide receiver, or you could re-sign DeAndre Hopkins if he fits in and he enjoys being in Nashville. It gives you, honestly, multiple options and money. So you're going to lean in and pay quite a bit of money this year with the DeAndre Hopkins contract, but you are going to compete, right, and you're not going to fall off. The whole thing of the Rand and Mike Vrabel relationship, Austin, is to bridge the gap, right?
Sure.
To not rebuild. So you go all in and you sign DeAndre Hopkins, and now you have all of these options to address the wide receiver room. Have Will Levis elevate to your quarterback if he's developed enough, right? And now you can make a decision on Derrick Henry as well.
All right.
And
so
if Derrick Henry is off the books, you have even more money.
All right. So I do have I do have a question about the Titans should go all because correct me if I'm wrong. You say the Titans should go all in on DeAndre Hopkins for
and spend the money this year.
Spend the money this year on a 1-year deal. All right. So I do have a question about that that I'm going to get to here in a second about how and what you think the Titans should do and how they should go about it. But first, let me tell you how you should go about your internet safety. That is with the Aura app. Zach and I have both signed up with Aura. And if you use our link, aura.com/ATOZ, you can get a 2-week free trial with the Aura app, and they will remove all those data brokers and spammers from your life and telemarketers from your life, probably within about 4 or 5 days. Okay, that's what happened with me. With the Aura app, once I signed up, they've got all-in-one digital safety that you can trust and use a lot of different features that they have, like password protection, VPN, credit and identity theft monitoring as well, on top of getting rid of those data brokers who are selling your info and profiting to telemarketers and spammers and robocallers that are just a massive inconvenience all the time, every day when you pick up your phone to hearing nothing on the other end of somebody just trying to get your info. It's also that time of year where there's a lot of people that are calling you for some endorsements for candidacy. And so you can get rid of that as well with the Aura app and use our code use our link, aura.com/ATOZ. Just punch that in to your browser, aura.com/ATOZ for a 2-week free trial with the Aura app.
A to Z Sports powered by BetMGM. Download the app today. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. Best part about that, you get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. For new users, you can get into the action as we're talking about maybe a future AFC South bet, plus 350 if you believe that DeAndre Hopkins is staying in the Music City, or you can bet on tonight's finals game. Maybe the Nuggets become NBA champions for the first time in franchise history, and Jokic, with his 2 MVPs, gets a championship and a finals MVP. Let's just face it. He's probably going to get it if they win tonight. So, bonus code A to Z Sports. Download the app today.
Man, one of the other things I love about BetMGM is you open up the app there and you just go to the NFL tab and it's got Titans futures odds and a whole tab right there sitting for me. It's like they know I'm in Tennessee, so they just hand up the Titans futures odds on a platter, which Titans win AFC South is currently plus 350. Mike Vrabel, Coach of the Year, is plus 2,500, by the way, if you're interested in that. So, Zach, my main question to you about the Titans need to go all in on DeAndre Hopkins for a 1-year deal is how do you spread out that money? How do you afford it? Because in order to sign DeAndre Hopkins to whatever it is, it's probably going to be north of $10 million for a 1-year deal. How is that cap going to work? Who are you going to restructure or who are you going to cut in order to allow for DeAndre Hopkins on a 1-year deal to have that type of cap hit this year to continue to keep next season's cap as clean as possible, kind of like you mentioned, right? Because the options are who? Like, is it Kevin Byard? Do you make good with Kevin Byard by extending his contract that lowers his $19 million cap hit this year, but you add on to his deal? Is it Harold Landry? I saw somebody earlier in the chat, can't remember the name, mention that Harold Landry needs to take a pay cut. One, he's not going to do that. Harold Landry took a pay cut when he went on IR and got half of his salary from last year. But if you restructure Harold Landry, you're giving a guy coming off an ACL who we have still yet to see in person, you're giving that guy extra money in his pocket with a signing bonus to restructure that. Do you extend Tannehill and Henry? That just muddies up the future with your offensive philosophy down the road, and you just drafted Will Levis to not do that. So what's the move if you want to be able to go all in, like you said?
Well, 2 things, and I think this is why we have these conversations, because the puzzle has to fit kind of. My first joke was the Kevin Byard thing. I wouldn't expect Rand Carthon to come back and say, all right, we're going to you ask you to do a pay cut. No, actually, we're going to give you more money up front. I just don't think that that's going to happen.
No, I'm talking an extension, not a restructure, because a restructure is why Kevin Byard's cap is $19 million. I'm talking about like actually extending his deal because he's got this year and next year and Byard's off the books.
I don't think you do that.
Okay.
Here's one thing that the Titans are not used to doing that the Saints are. The Saints spend, and you just look at the last like 10 years, the Saints are usually over the cap for the majority of the season.
Like significantly.
Yeah, significantly. I believe, and this is a bold move in year one for Rand Carthon, but look what Rand Carthon did this offseason. He signed short-term deals, 1, 2, 3-year deals. There's very little risk in these players that he was familiar with because, hell, half of them were 49ers, right? I believe that you can spend this season over the cap. There's going to be a tax involved, but the amount of money that is coming off of the books, presumably, and you have a lot more options next offseason, you're putting your chips in 1 year to compete in this AFC to, as I said, bridge the gap. I think the solution is a non-traditional puzzle piece, which is to do something that John Robinson would never have done and that the Titans usually don't do. But there are plenty of teams that go over the cap. I think you could probably spend that for 1 year.
Now, the Titans are expected to have, over $100 million of cap space next year. Now, that's without a lot of players. Like, they still have to have bodies to fill up.
Will Levis is the X factor in that because their quarterback comes off the books from a massive amount of money in Ryan Tannehill, whose base salary this year is $27 million.
Sure.
And absolutely. You're not going to pay anybody on the roster $27 million next year if Ryan Tannehill's not on the books.
Yeah, I mean, Jeffrey Simmons is getting 16 and a half, and
that's not 27.
Landry is currently getting 17 and a quarter. That's the highest base salaries for 2024 as of current. So, look, I mean, I guess you could afford to do that. Like, would you rather be taxed on this year's capping over or restructure somebody or extend Kevin Byard?
But there's not a lot of options as we've talked about, right?
I think Kevin Byard's the option.
I think reasonably, yes. I don't think that they're going to do that, though, because of what has happened this offseason. I just don't, it's an apology necklace. Like, what are you doing? Like, just go forward. Like, don't do that. I don't think that's the move for Kevin Byard.
Do you think Kevin Byard is going to be a really good football player at age 32?
That's a Rand Carthon question.
MB says it's Landry, Austin. He's the option. No, you don't restructure Harold Landry because
he hasn't proven anything.
Yeah, he's coming off an ACL, and you can't do that. That's dumb. I would absolutely rather have Kevin Byard in year 2025 when he's 32 years old than do anything that Harold Landry's contract.
And then I think the other option, which I would not go with, is a 2-year deal for Deandre Hopkins and space the money out so you could pay him, and now you're really betting on him for 2 years. But maybe, Austin, that's the play to get Deandre Hopkins to sign. Maybe that's really what Hopkins wants, is a 2-year deal and not a 1-year deal. So now you could probably –
with an out.
Yeah. Right. So that there is the curveball. I think the team benefits off of a 1 year. Well, structurally, you could benefit off the 2-year deal, but you have more options for the Titans if it's a 1-year deal. Let's see if it works out or else. Because what happened to Julio Jones? Like Julio Jones, they got out of that contract after 1 year. It didn't work. Deandre Hopkins,
but Julio has like an $8 million cap hit right now.
and that's what they're trying to avoid. And DeAndre Hopkins, I guess I'll ask you this, Austin. Do you think he is an experiment?
I wouldn't call DeAndre Hopkins an experiment. I mean, to some extent,
that's what I'm. How do you describe him?
I describe DeAndre Hopkins as an aggressive move. I don't necessarily think it's experimental.
Experiments, you can have aggressive experiments.
Yeah, you can, but I don't necessarily put that into an experiment type category. I think it's a win now move, which again, like,
so then it's a 1-year deal.
But there's a world where every free agent acquisition is an experiment. Like,
No.
Andre Dillard's an experiment.
Christian Kirk is not an experiment. So not everything is an experiment.
Okay. All right. I mean, there are obviously outliers. There is a world, Zach, where a high majority of free agent acquisitions are experiments. You can go through and make a case that all the Titans' major, in air quotes, free agent acquisitions, you can say that all 5 of those guys, and then include Sean Murphy-Bunting, who's a 6, you can like literally say, yeah, all 6 of those players are experiments.
Okay, so then that's why I think it justifies to do the DeAndre Hopkins for a 1-year deal, because it is an experiment. And I believe how Rand Carthon is going to build this franchise through his eyes and his moves is through drafting football players. That is how he is going to build. And all of these pieces, all the guys you just threw up here, the DeAndre Hopkins conversation, it's just a bridge. It is a short-term solution to try to solve the long-term problem of trying to win a Super Bowl. And Rand Carthon, he doesn't have all of the draft picks moving forward, but he does have a first-round pick next year, right? He didn't trade that away. So, he has pieces, and I think he's going to build this thing probably closer to what John Lynch and the San Francisco 49ers tried to do based on his history, and that is draft really good players, re-sign your really good players, which John Robinson struggled at first rounders, and that's how you move forward. But you spend the short-term money now with not long-term risk because they're coming off the books. I mean, $100 million coming off of the books next year, and the salary cap is going up.
Well, there's not $100 million coming off the books. There's just money there's just a lot of
available. Not off the books. That's fair, but available.
Yeah, you have a lot of expiring contracts, and you did not commit long-term to free agency outside of Dillard and Arden Key, who each got 3-year deals. But you could also label those guys as experiments. So W. Callan in a super chat here from earlier says, the more I think about it, the more I think the Titans sign him. Familiarity with the coaches, get to play with Henry, give him 2 years with void years if needed, 150 targets available. It makes sense daily, is what Callan says with the super chat. I don't disagree. It makes a ton of sense. That's why I am been so adamant about this for now since April. It's been I've been very strongly for DeAndre Hopkins and the Titans, even when he was a trade object, when the Cardinals still had him under contract. Zach, there's one thing that we have not gotten to yet. As the title of the show is one positive and one negative from an NFL reporter on DeAndre Hopkins free agency. The one positive is that Mike Reese thinks that a $10 million deal with a couple million in incentives is realistic for teams like the Titans and the Patriots.
And if the Titans could pull that off, if they pull a $12 million deal or a $10 million deal,
bravo. So here's the negative, and we've got a question to go along with this. It's a big deal, small deal, or no deal question. Here's the negative. This is also from Mike Reese of ESPN. But word out of Arizona, the 31-year-old Hopkins, who was due to make $19 million in 2023, did not like to practice. And it's perhaps telling that the Cardinals are attempting to reestablish a new culture under first-year head coach Jonathan Gannon and GM Monty Ossenfort. They voluntarily subtracted Hopkins from the mix. So he does not like to practice. So is that a big deal, a small deal, or a no deal? I just threw that curveball at you there, Zach. You said like 15 minutes ago, the Titans should go all in on DeAndre Hopkins, but he doesn't like to practice. Now, again, I'll let you answer it. Big deal, small deal, or no deal that DeAndre Hopkins did not like to practice in Arizona. But first, tell us about your brand new car opportunity at Wilson County Hyundai.
Yeah, Wilson County Hyundai is where you need to go to get your next ride. Your perfect make and model is right around the corner. And once you go to Wilson County Hyundai, you will understand why. You can test drive the vehicle. And that's what you need to do. You got to, get those hands on 20 and 10 and 2 and ride down the road. That's Wilson County Hyundai. They are trusted by A to Z Sports, and they should be trusted by you. It could be the Palisade full-size SUV with third row seating. It could be the Sonata, which is a four-door sedan. They've got you right there at Wilson County Hyundai. Visit them online and look at their inventory. That's wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
All right, with BetMGM, always with BetMGM, use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up, and you get a first bet offer that you cannot refuse, which means up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet misses. So take advantage of that all summer long, tonight or later on in the football season with BetMGM code ATOZ Sports. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only, new customer offer. All promotions, other qualification, eligible requirements. First online real money wager only. Rewards issued with non-withdrawable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days. And for problem gambling support, call Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789. Here is this question, Zach. Big deal, small deal, or no deal? Deandre Hopkins, quote, did not like the practice, end quote, in Arizona. This coming from Mike Reese of ESPN. Did not like the practice in Arizona. I'll let you get to the chat.
This is good because I do have my opinion. And then I want to read this. And Patrick says, Diop isn't an experiment. He's a win now and teacher to the Titans' younger receivers. Well, hard to teach if you don't want to practice. And Devin says, Big Jeff doesn't practice either. I don't agree with that. Big Jeff.
I saw Jeffrey Simmons in a full-out sprint competition with Arden Key, who's about 40 pounds lighter than Big Jeff last week.
So that is incorrect, Devin. Big Jeff consistently practiced and always has. So that's
except when he was dealing with an ankle injury that he was shooting up every week.
Yeah. Okay. That you pass, right? That's a pass.
Yeah.
Chris Frazier says it's a small deal. Sounds like Julio and AJ from Kenneth. Let's see here. Meh deal from Noah. Small deal from Tighten Up. No deal from Jonathan. Steven says small deal. Justin says small deal. Andre says no deal. Kenneth goes with small deal. Stephen King says no deal. We're talking about practice. Goes AI on us. Jag says no deal. Big deal from Big Ten Jeff. Can't get timing if you don't practice. Talking about practice from Chris Stress. Small deal from Michael. Mr. Jones says no deal. No deal from Willie. It's a small one from Ronnie. Small deal from Jarvis. Big deal from Davidson. Jody says small. No deal from Major Keys. Big deal from Rooney. So there's a couple of big deals going up, but not a lot. Mark and Hot Doobie say no deal. Sterling and Danny say small, along with Scott also says small, along with Richie. Big deal if true from Jared. So there's 3 big deals. Billy, Michael, Hammer, and Nick and John all say small deal. Devin says no deal, no pads all season. I don't care. So that kind of gets you where the chat is and a lot of really good comments. Austin, do you think this is a big deal, small deal, or no deal that the report of DeAndre Hopkins is that he does not prefer to practice?
Yeah, I say it's a small deal. It's not a deal breaker for the Titans. It should not be a deal breaker for the Titans, in my opinion. But yeah, it's a small deal, because I think we've got enough of a sample size and data on Ryan Tannehill and his production with certain wide receivers based on who he practices with. When Ryan Tannehill took over for Mariota in 19 mid-season, he instantly had a connection with A.J. Brown and Anthony Ferkser because he was getting those second-team reps behind Mariota all offseason long with A.J. Brown and Anthony Ferkser. And then it took a second. It took a whole nother year, 2020, for it to click with Corey Davis. And we've seen that a couple times now with Julio Jones. He practiced, and I think Julio Jones was out there practicing at a good effort level for what Julio Jones was until he got tweaked in a training camp practice when he came down funky after catching a touchdown pass from Ryan Tannehill. And then at that point, it was load management the rest of the way. And so I think DeAndre Hopkins not wanting to practice in Arizona, it makes sense when I look at the situation of Kyler Murray and all the things that go on about his dedication to the game or lack thereof, with the injury situation, just being a terrible football team, having a coach on his way out, having a GM that got suspended, having a lot of other things happen. I'm sure DeAndre Hopkins wasn't really excited to practice. But I think with any new team, there's a different level of commitment to practice because you know that, hey, I have to at least establish what this relationship and connection is with my new teammates. And you can only do that via practice right now. So I think it's a small deal, but not a deal breaker at all.
So Kane says it's a huge deal. How do you build chemistry with a new team, and how much better can the team be if he did practice? So Kane is kind of more on your side. He's saying it's huge. You're saying it's small. So I actually, and this is unique, I think, for me, because I do value practice, but I actually think that this is probably for me a no deal. He's going to practice. It's not like he's never going to practice. Not liking to practice is different than practicing, right?
Not liking to practice is different than not practicing. Agreed.
So that's why I am no deal on this. I believe that if the Titans were to sign DeAndre Hopkins, it would probably be in the month of June. Wouldn't you agree? Right? I mean, like, these are the talks. Well, now, maybe it settles down and he holds out for more money. Possibly. That could happen. But
I mean, at this point,
he's going to sign before training camp.
Yes. It could be in July, though. Like, at this point, there's no difference from signing next week to July 18th.
I just don't think it's a deal. I think your Tannehill points are valid, but DeAndre Hopkins can catch the football. Okay? That is his best attribute. Is you throw him the damn ball anywhere close, he comes down with it. He doesn't have a ton of drops. He doesn't do what Robert Woods did last year. He doesn't do what even Treylon Burks at times did last year, or Swain, or some of the wide receivers that Tannehill and others were throwing to. And he's not overthrowing it like Josh Dobbs did a handful of times towards the end. Now, Dobbs did the best that he could for what he was asked to do. But Ryan Tannehill is a pretty accurate passer. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
I am not worried about DeAndre Hopkins. He's been on multiple teams, so that tells me that he's learned multiple offenses. He's been with multiple offensive coordinators.
Including Tim Kelly.
That's where I'm going. And he's had to learn the offense. And now he's going back to an offense and is familiar with the offensive coordinator. It's a no deal. He's a veteran. Do I think Treylon Burks needs to practice? Yes, I do. Do I think his ass needs to be number one in the line? Yes, I do. But he's developing as a player. And it appears to be, Treylon Burks is looking the part. His hands, his confidence, his physique. I feel like he is climbing that ladder the way that a first-round pick of what he was drafted to do.
I want to go ahead and buy stock low, on Burks. Right, it's as low as it's going to be, I think, right now.
DeAndre Hopkins has proven that he has value. That's why he's talking about getting a $10+ million contract. The fact that he doesn't like to practice is a no deal to me. I think it would be just fine.
I mean, I don't think it's a no deal because I think the Titans have had enough guys.
Tim Kelly.
Yeah, but they've had enough veteran signings that have been on the expensive side that didn't like to practice that have burned them. I know it's not Rand Carthon.
What was the familiarity with those players?
Well,
Jadeveon Clowney, the situation.
Jadeveon Clowney was a pretty high familiarity, and that guy didn't like to practice.
But look, Jadeveon Clowney had been a problem. Like, didn't you think? I don't think DeAndre Hopkins has been a problem.
He himself has not been a problem, but DeAndre Hopkins has not been like free of drama with the two teams. Like, again, like we just read.
Was those dramas like the
whose
Texans?
Fault, right? Whose fault is it? Yeah,
it's not DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look, but again, like when I see that, Mike Reese, who's insanely respected, working for ESPN, covering the Patriots for a long time, the Cardinals are attempting to establish a new culture under new coach, new GM. They voluntarily subtracted Hopkins from the mix. That's something. And
no, it's not. The Cardinals are going in a different direction because they were so bad, and DeAndre Hopkins didn't want to be a part of the rebuild.
No, I understand. It's something. It's not everything. It's something. But again, there was friction between DeAndre Hopkins and Bill O'Brien. That's something. I believe the majority, if not all of the blame, is on Bill O'Brien. But still, there is still stuff.
What? I'm asking. You got to give examples. What has DeAndre Hopkins done? I'm asking you.
I'm not saying he has done. I'm just saying that he is now.
No, I'm asking. Can you give me an example?
Again, I don't agree with the result or how it was handled, but the rumors about the Texans, Bill O'Brien, DeAndre Hopkins, is that DeAndre Hopkins was bringing around too many people in the facility that Bill O'Brien did not want in the facility, and that was a friction spot for those two guys. And Bill O'Brien at the time was the head coach and GM, and that's why their relationship fizzled and he was traded to Arizona. So that is the thing. I don't think it was the right move for the Texans. I don't think Bill O'Brien got fired from it. Neededly so.
So that, again, that's nothing. So, like, DeAndre Hopkins has not done anything to make you question, in my opinion, and look, you can have your own opinion, his character, his drive, all of the other.
I'm not questioning that.
Familiar, but you compared him to Jadeveon Clowney to get back on track.
No, hold on. I compared DeAndre Hopkins, who now on ESPN.com did not like to practice. Jadeveon Clowney did not like to practice. Those two things are similar, but that's why I'm saying. I understand, but
so it's a moot point. If you're saying that's what I'm coming back at that DeAndre Hopkins is not a concern. Jadeveon Clowney was a concern before he stepped into the Titans facility.
The entire point of where we were at here is that the difference between me having it as a small deal and you having it a no deal. The reason why it's a small deal for me is because the Titans have had players in the past like Jadeveon Clowney who also did not like to practice, and those things did not go the Titans' way. So whenever you have a veteran who you're going to rely on heavily that does not like to practice, then there's something to monitor there, which has it as a small deal for me. But as I said earlier, it is not a deal breaker whatsoever.
Well, yeah, it's not, of course, not a deal breaker, but it's based on reputation. And DeAndre Hopkins does not have the negative.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree, but I'm saying, but when it
comes that's why I say that it matters. And he's going into a spot that he knows the offensive coordinator. And whoever, this is something actually to look at. Whoever DeAndre Hopkins signs with, let's see if he practices.
Oh, again, I also said he's going to practice because that's what you do with new teams.
So,
except Clowney.
That's why it's a no deal.
I don't think it's a no deal. It's a small deal. It's something to monitor. If you think
he's going to practice, it's a no deal.
I mean, I think he's going to practice initially, just like I mean, again, like there's a lot of nuance to this. It's a small deal. It's something to monitor for me. It's not just a no deal. If DeAndre Hopkins is a Titan, monitoring his energy and effort level in practice, and then seeing what the result is in games, and then seeing how that transpires across the season is going to be something to monitor if it comes to fruition. But that's a big if, right? So we got to see what happens first and where he lands. All right, Zach. A lot of good stuff with DeAndre Hopkins this morning. Great audience participation. Appreciate you guys. But let's wrap up this Monday with a Ask Me Anything question. But first, I'll tell you guys about some reliability when it comes to customer service and the equipment. That's with Krebs Kubota, Middle Tennessee's preferred equipment dealer and an elite Kubota dealer with 3 locations across the mid-state in Columbia, Franklin, and in Murfreesboro. They've been serving Middle Tennesseans for now over 18 years. And Kubota, being an elite Kubota dealer, massive perks because you get great warranty benefits, also incredible relationships with customer service and service in the parts industry, but also the Krebs name is the massive difference maker on top of the elite Kubota industry and equipment there. So Krebs, they make sure they take care of you. They build a relationship with their clients and customers, because if you're using big equipment like this, you have to have a really good quality relationship with your equipment provider. And that is what Krebs strives to do. So check them out. 3 locations across the mid-state: Columbia, Franklin, Murfreesboro. Online, KrebsKubota.com.
A to Z Sports powered by BetMGM. Download the app today. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. They are the king of the sports books. New users, and this is big, new users, they get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses, but you got to use that bonus code ATOZ Sports.
All right, Zach, time for Monday Ask Me Anything. What do you have in store for us today?
All right, I was going across the internet this morning, and I actually recently did this. And so I was like, this would be a good thing to ask.
Okay.
What old person thing do you do? So what old person thing do you do? And you may be an older gentleman. Now you just got to say, or woman, doesn't matter. What old person thing do you do? Now I'm 35. You're in your young 30s. We may do something that maybe a 50 or 60-year-old man do. We may have 15-year-olds that they've got to really think about, well, man, what older person I go on. We may have a younger person that goes on Facebook, and that may be their old person thing to do. So everything is on the table. But the question is, what old person thing do you do?
This is interesting. Jody just says be old. Brian says go to bed early before 8, and he's 39 years old. Max says
that is one.
Max says bed before 9:30. Austin Bond says pass out before 7:30. DeMarco says no patience. Let's see. Here's mine. Make noises when I sit up and sit down. And Dylan, the same thing. Grunt when I get up and get down like that. I make when I stand up and when I sit down, I make noises that make you feel like, oh my God, did that guy play in the NFL for 25 years? Like, no, that's just me. That's what I do.
I think that's pretty good. Timothy says, tell the kids their music sucks, right? My music's better than your music. So here was mine. And Billy is kind of closer to mine, ache and hurt. And honestly, Big Ten Jeff, back pain. So my old person thing that I do is I use heating pads. I'm a heating pad guy. I plug that bad boy in. Sometimes when I'm in the recliner, I sometimes lay down on it before I go to sleep. But I got my heating pad and I put that thing on my upper and lower back and just feel the fire. That is my number one thing of a heating pad that I use. And that was the first thing that I thought of is like, that's my old person thing.
Yeah.
Use checkbooks is a good one I saw.
I mean, I write checks. I probably
go to the bank. That's one.
I probably have to write more checks each month than the majority of the population, but that's not an old person thing. I mean, heating pads is pretty funny.
I do go to sleep instantly on the couch, right?
Yeah.
Like I can't get through a show.
No,
but it's not like I can't get through. If it's an hour-long show, I'm not in it for 30 minutes. Like I'm asleep by minute, sometimes under 5. Which is embarrassing. Yeah. And it's not good for my wife because now it's
the first commercial.
It's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. MB says telling old football stories. Mark says comment that others my age look old, all while ignoring my mirror. Anthony says watch Westerns. He's 30. Charles just says have a voicemail. I think leaving voicemails is also something that could fit this.
Yeah, I only leave funny voicemails to my friends. Like, I do a different voice and make it funny, right? Or that's about it.
I another old person thing. Yeah, my main one is making noises when I sit up and stand down. My other one is getting on people for driving too fast through neighborhoods.
Oh.
Like, hey, come on, there's kids around here. Like,
yeah.
People are walking their dogs. Like, yeah.
Anytime you do this.
Yeah, I do that.
Oh God.
But again,
this is what I do if I see that.
But it's a problem. It's a problem. But but there you go. That's pretty funny though.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jason asked if leaving voicemails is an old person thing.
Yeah, it just depends on the situation, right? Yeah. Like it depends on who you're talking to. I do have a good shade for this week that I saw in Texas on the road. That kind of blew my mind. And so that's my tease for Wednesday.
There you go. There you go. All right, guys. Hey, this is a great show. Great Monday show here with Deandre Hopkins in town. So we'll see how that transpires. But make sure you give the show a thumbs up. We need it. There's always way more people watching that have given the show a thumbs up. So make sure you do that if you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up button. We really need that to happen. That helps out the algorithm, helps us continue to grow, to be able to have the best Titans conversations we could possibly have with you involved in it. Buck Rising live tonight, A to Z Sports Prime Time at 8. And we'll see you guys tomorrow on a Tuesday. Appreciate it as always.
Adios.